Hey up, it's Steve from the old Yorkshire Geek, and it's time to review episode 7 of season 1 of Monarch Legacy of Monsters, the Monsterverse series with Godzilla and all that, that's currently airing on Apple Plus, Apple TV Plus, whatever the hell it's called. And this episode is called Will the Real May Please Stand Up? And to be honest, I thought, when I learned of this episode title last week, I thought it was going to be a boring episode all about May, and it is. And I still don't like May, the character, but it's not a bad episode. Unfortunately, there's no, well, yes, there's a monster in it, but it's right at the very end. And but it's not a bad episode. It were okay. We have some subterfuge and stuff going on, and mysteries and all that, and connections to the Monsterverse films, particularly Godzilla vs. Kong. But anyway, let's just get on with it, shall we? We'll just have a look, and then we'll talk about it as we go, because I've just finished watching it. Right, so, where are we? There we go, Apple Original. Right, let's give it that. So, oh yes, I forgot to mention, yes, last week's episode, I forgot to mention, remember the helicopter crashed? And Shaw went to investigate and said, nobody survived, everybody's dead. I thought, oh, is that the end of Tim then? But then immediately, in this episode, straight away, the very first scene, Tim rises from the dust. The only survivor of the helicopter crash, luckily for him. All the others must have been wearing red shirts. But anyway, Tim's alive and, you know, oddly enough, unscathed. He's fine. No injuries whatsoever. And in the middle of the Algerian desert. So here we are at the Algerian airport. This is Kate and Kentaro. They're waiting for their plane, presumably to go home or wherever they're going. I can't actually remember. Last week they kind of fell out with May. May told them that she was not being honest with them, and they kind of told her to go to hell. And we thought they were going to split up and go the separate ways, but they've all arrived here together. But she's gone to the bathroom. And then we learn that she's been there a while. So Kate goes to check on her, and there's May in the bathroom. And she gets she seems upset, and then some men in black suits arrive, and there she says something along the lines of, I've never done this before, what do we do? So basically she gets taken by these men in black. Then we get the opening titles. It says there, look, Wyatt Russell in the role of Lee Shaw, but he's not in it this week. This is all in the modern times, 2015, with a little look back earlier to 2012 or whatever, 2013-ish, something like that. I think 2012. But we don't go back to the 50s, unfortunately, which is usually my favourite parts, apart from last week, but when they decided to bring in a love triangle. But no, there's no Wyatt Russell this week. Anyway, right, so off we go. So, she's been taken. Kate's looking for her. She finds a bag with all the passport and stuff in, and so saying, somebody's got her. And there we see she's on a plane, heading somewhere, and it turns out, we thought, is it Monarch that's found her? But it turns out it's not. It's a company called AET, which stands for, I've forgotten, Applied Experimental Technologies, which is going to be, I think, in partnership with another company. We'll find out later on. But this is the company that May, we learn that that's not her real name later on. That's the company that she worked for briefly a few years earlier. And there we go. Here we get a flashback, I think this is to 2012, where she's getting recruited for AET. This is a character called Brenda Holland, played by Dominique Tipper, which is, you might know from The Expanse. She played, I forgot the name of the character in Expanse, but she can hold the breath for a really long time in The Expanse. I hated that episode, but never mind. That's by the by. She's one of the top executive at AET. I don't know if she's the owner or the biggest boss. I don't know, but she's up there. And essentially, it's a company that's gathering up hackers, essentially. Or top software engineers sort of thing. And so she's offering May. Sorry, she's not called May. We learned that she's called Cora. That's a real name. Corah, Cora. But here she has been recruited over a bottle of 2 bottles of wine, and there's a suggestion that they know each other anyway. I think London's mentioned or something. So have they been in a previous relationship? I don't know. I didn't know May, was gay. I don't know. We've learned that Kate's gay a few episodes ago, but I don't know about May. I thought May, maybe she's bi, because she'd been in a relationship, or it suggested she was in a relationship with Kentaro, wasn't it? Whatever. So she gets recruited to that company, right? Here they are. They've got to look for May. They don't know what's happened to her. And then Tim arrives at the airport. He must have walked all the way from the middle of the Algerian desert. Algeria's quite a big country, but he's made it there. I think it's supposed to be 10 miles away. I think they mentioned the last episode. Lee said, the nearest town's 10 miles away. So I'm presuming that's where this airport is. So he's walked it, and he's not very happy, but he's fine, and he's just a bit dehydrated. So he goes and he gets loads of water from this vendor. Don't know how he pays for it. Maybe he had some money in his pocket. I don't know. He just says thanks and walks off with loads of water. Maybe it's free. I don't know much about Algeria. Anyway, so he ends up. It's going to help him. He agrees to help them. And all that stuff. I don't want to really get into it. We're going to spoil it a bit, but I'm not getting into the nitty gritty of it all. He gets on the phone to whose name I've forgotten again. I'm rubbish at remembering bloody names, aren't I? Hey, where is she? Oh, don't know. Can't remember. Where is she? She's not even. Why ain't she in the bloody list? Why ain't she in the list? There it is. I found it. Verdugo, Natalia Verdugo, Deputy Director of Monarch. Tell you, we get there in the end. Don't we? So he's on the phone to her, saying, the team's gone. Godzilla appeared. Remember, somehow he'd buried himself under millions of tons of rock and earth. Somehow. Must have been quite quickly. Remember, only a year earlier he was rampaging through San Francisco. But anyway, that's by the by. So that his team's dead. Godzilla's, woke up and stomped off. We don't know where Hiroshi Randa is. Remember, that's Kate and Kentaro's dad. We saw him last week, and he told them to get away, and then drove off. So they're not happy with him, essentially, as Kate and Kentaro, saying first time we saw him, he ran away, left us to our doom with Godzilla stomping about, which is pretty accurate, to be completely honest. That's what he did. But maybe he thought Godzilla would chase. Well, it did. Maybe he thought Godzilla would chase after his machine that he had in his back of his pickup truck, which I think is essentially what Godzilla did. He headed off in that direction, I do believe. But anyway, so Tim he says, we shouldn't have treated these kids as criminals, etc. We've got to get them to help us. So blah blah blah. Do as I suggest, and so that's what they're going to do. So he's going to help them. Here at Monarch Outpost 88, some soldiers arrive. Yeah. And there we see, this is the character that we saw, was it in Utah? Or somewhere like that, or Nevada. So she was in the middle of the desert somewhere, wasn't she? In her outpost, and she found the gamma radiation spikes, or whatever they were. And now she's gone to this Monarch Outpost in Alaska, because they're getting the same readings. So that's why she's there. So she's saying, I'm not here to step on your toes, but I got this same reading where I was, so that's why I've come here. Now you're getting it here, so that's why I've come here. And then she says, I need to pee. So she goes to the toilet, and then all these soldiers come in, and we learn it's Duval and there we go, and Lee Shaw, the elder. So he says he's taking over. Nobody's going to get hurt, but he's taking over the base. They can go if they want. But he tells them, basically gives them a bit of a choice. They can stay if they want and help, or they can go. It's not going to hurt anybody. She comes out of the bathroom and sees what's going on. But she makes a noise, so Duval hears her and goes and chases after her. Meanwhile, she's phoning up Verdugo, saying, some men have come and taken over the outpost. But she gets away. Quite well done with that bit, to be honest. It was quite tense. Anyway, so they're back in Algeria, and they decide he's going to help them. Kate May said if she ever got into trouble, that to phone her sister, and can you track her down? And Tim says, well, her passport's fake, so and all that. But he thinks he knows where they can find her family, so they head off to Tacoma, Washington. That's it. So anyway, then we get another flashback to. I don't know if this is May's first day. Cora. I don't know how to call her May or Cora. By the end, she says you can call me May, so I presume we're still calling her May, just to stop any confusion. But this is Cora's maybe first day at AET, and this is where she's saying, you've scooped up all these amazing software engineers, programmers, whatever you want to call them. But she basically doesn't know what she's there for. And Brenda's saying, well, you've got an opportunity, to save lives, essentially. It's a great pause, isn't it? But so she's saying, just, do your best. Not everybody gets a trophy, she's told, but, show us how brilliant you are, essentially. So that's what she is. And she doesn't. We learn that she doesn't do that. She essentially shuts down the company. Sort of ruins their research. Right, so back at Monarch HQ, this scientist, I don't know who she is, Monarch agent, whatever, she's telling them that she's at a gas station, telling them all about what happened. So I don't know what they're going to do, to be completely honest. Meanwhile, back in Alaska, they're getting all these explosives, because it says there on the box. I'm presuming the rest of the crates and things have ammunition in as well. And she says, how much are we taking? And I knew what we were going to say. You thought, everybody in unison that were watching this said, everything. I mean, that's what he says. They're taking everything. Right, they're in Tacoma, Washington now. They've arrived there quickly. They were in Algeria 5 minutes ago. So I presume like a day's gone by, at least. Unless they've got Concorde, which wasn't flying at the time, and didn't go to Algeria anyway. So I'm presuming there's been a passage of time now of at least a day. I don't know how long it takes to get from Algeria to Washington, which is on the east coast of the United States. So it's essentially the other side of the world, isn't it? More or less. Like 6,000 miles at least. Probably more. But they've got there anyway. So at least a day has passed, and it's dull and rainy. So this is where they meet May/Cora's family. They don't know where she is, but they seem a nice family. We learn that she's got a mother and father and a sister and a brother, and they're trying to bluff their way through it, saying they're just friends of Cora's from the manga scene. And obviously Tim must know his manga, because he blurts out all these names of, I presume, manga authors. I know sod all about manga. But obviously the sister's suspicious. So anyway, they go, but the sister leaves in that car. And so they follow her to Seattle. This is Seattle. I only know it's Seattle because of that. That, whatever they call it, the tower thing. What they call it? Space Needle, I think they call it, don't they, with the restaurant on. That's the only reason I know that's Seattle. Anyway, they follow her into a underground car park. Oh, as we call them here in the UK, multi-storey car park. That's what we call them. But the loser, but she finds them. She challenges them with a. Americans call them tire irons. We call them wheel braces. Take your pick. But they said, oh no, we are friends of hers. We just want to know where she is. Blah blah blah. And so the sister tells him, when you find her, tell her that we love her and we want her to come home. Blah, blah, blah. So that was a bit waste of time, wasn't it? And then we have another flashback to where we learned that Cora, back in 2012, had essentially, I think she'd shut down she'd hacked the mainframe and basically wiped all the data from this this project that the AET were doing. We'll learn about it in a bit. But so now they're on to her. She was getting text from workmates and from Brenda Holland. Is that what her name? That's the name of the character, the boss, Brenda Holland. Saying, I know it were you. So this is why she goes on the run, and this is how she ends up in Japan. She takes her sister's passport. Says, I need your passport. You can say it was stolen in a week. So she's going to use that to get out of the country. And disappear. So that was the last time that her family saw her. So, right, we're back at AET. It's back in present day now. So, basically, she's either in trouble, she can go to prison or whatever, or she can work for AET again, essentially. That's what they're going to give her, that choice. And this is where we're learning what she did. She got into she hacked the computer of the company that she works for. Gets into their, cybernetic neurointerface unit. So she gets in there, obviously creates a backdoor pass or whatever, I don't know. So she gets in. And this is... but she don't. I don't get that. She gets into this area that's just like some sort of industrial area, but she doesn't see anything in real life. She sees it on the screen. There we go. Monkeys and chimpanzees with, brain caps on. I'm sure no animals were harmed in the making of this. Pardon me. But obviously she's disgusted, and that's why she destroyed all the data. And I was thinking, is this connected to, what happened in one of the Godzilla films? Was it Godzilla vs. Kong? I think it was, where they created Mechagodzilla, didn't they? Spoilers for that film. And they wanted to control Godzilla, didn't they, or whatever? So I think, that's... I was thinking, is it connected to that? And it seems it was, because we learn later on. Right, so this is where they're going to rescue her. Tim has got a plan. He says, there's something I can do. And so what he does, he basically triggers a Godzilla alert, essentially. They call them Titans, don't they? A Titan alert. So alarms, sirens go off, and all the people panic. There we go. Hang on, I've gone too far. See if we can see it on the phone. See what it says. Giant organism approaching, it says, or whatever. Come on, show us. Just bear with me. There we go. Massive organism approaching. Seek shelter immediately with the Monarch logo. By the way, Monarch, it's established in this that Monarch is a shadow organisation. Nobody really knows about it, except for in the public alerts. But in this episode, Monarch comes out into the light. Anyway, so she's on her. She knows what to say. She goes, Tim. They're expecting all dramatic music. It's like Skeletor going, He-Man, curses, Tim. But so she knows it's him that's done it. It's obviously a fake alert. There isn't a Godzilla or a Titan or a Muto coming. So everybody's panicking in the building except for Brenda. So she gives her the choice. You can work with us and spy with you. She knows, because she sees on her security camera, that it's a distraction so her friends can get into the building, past security and all that, with all the chaos, and come and rescue her, because they're like a SWAT team or a stealth ninjas or something. So that's what they do, and she knows, and she says, you can either stay here and face whatever's coming to you, or you can go with them, work for me again, but report back to me on everything you learn about the Titans. And she says, what, spy on my friends? And yeah, whatever. Not essentially spy on her friends, but just tell her what they're doing. I mean, I'd have said, yeah, all right then. What's it got to do with them? I'd have told them. I'd have said, I'm coming with you, but I'm telling you, I've got this phone here, and I've got to phone Brenda here and tell her everything that we find out. Is that okay with you, lads and lasses? But obviously she's not happy with that, so she decides she's not going to go with them, and she tells them, and she says, my real name's not even May, it's Cora. And says, yes, we know. Oh, this is where it reminds us that she calls herself May, because it shows us, we'd seen this before, where Kentaro taking a photo of his art gallery poster, and he accidentally took a picture of her, and that's how they met, and she said, my name's May. But we know she's not called May, she's called Cora, but by the end she's called May again. Anyway, so she says, I don't want to be that person anymore. I still don't like her. So she stays, she doesn't go with them. Then they get bundled into a big black car by Monarch agents. There's Verdugo. And so they she's telling them they've got to go home now and not have anything to do with all this Titan stuff. And she says, well, we know what Shaw's going to do. I don't know how they know, but they talk her into letting them stick around, and also to get May, because they said, we can't do this without May, Cora, whatever. So May's ready to face, the consequences of her actions. But then Verdugo makes the call to Brenda and cuts a deal. So May doesn't have to spy anymore, and she's free to go. And this is where she goes home to her family, and they're all happy, and all that jazz. So they've got to work out what they're going to do about Lee Shaw and his team, what they're up to. So here she is, and she says, you can call me May now, because she calls her Cora, but then she says, you can call me May now, just make it super confusing. I'd be calling her both. So she's going to go with them, so everything's lovely. And this is, Tim had suggested, by the way, in the previous scene, that Monarch comes out of the shadows and becomes public. And so this is her doing a press conference, telling the world all about Monarch, and that they're there to protect people from the giant organisms, and that the alert in Seattle, was a false alarm. I'd have said something along the lines of, Godzilla was sighted in Algeria, and because of that, it accidentally triggered the alarm in Seattle through a software error, or something like that. I'd have said something along those lines, but she says it were a false alarm. So the gang's back together. She's hugging May, and May's rubbing her hand and stuff. And I'm thinking, are they going to be an item now? Don't know. What happened to her teacher friend? Did she die during the Godzilla attack in San Francisco? No idea. Don't know. So, and this is where the link to Godzilla versus Kong happens. Brenda is on the phone. She's just watched Verdugo give her press conference, and she's on the phone to somebody that she's calling Sir. And this is where we learn, there we go, that they've made a deal or something with Walter Simmons. She calls him Mr. Simmons on the phone. We don't see him, she just talks of him. And then we see that appear on the screen, Apex Cybernetics. And that's the company in Godzilla vs. Kong that makes Mechagodzilla. Remember that Godzilla and King Kong have to join up to defeat, because it goes on the rampage, doesn't it? Is it Hong Kong? I think it's Hong Kong, isn't it? Or Singapore. I can't remember. Somewhere like that. Somewhere in the Far East. So that's where we learn there's that connection, which were cool. There we go. Then we go to the Alaska Rift, and I'm thinking, this is mentioned earlier on, and I don't even know what this is. We'd seen it early on in the season, this light coming from the ground. I don't even know what it is. I must have missed something. Maybe it's in the films. I don't know. Is it an entrance to the inner world? Remember from Godzilla vs. Kong? I have no idea. But they're going to blow the bugger up anyway, is Lee and all his gang. We've got all the helicopters. Remember they took over the Monarch base, which had all the helicopters and stuff, and explosives. So they're going to blow it up. So they set off an explosion. Hang on, see, I've gone too far. Look. They set off an explosion, and it releases that creature with its electricity powers. That comes bursting out. Here it is, look. It looks like, it reminds me of a monster from that game, Monster Hunter World, that my son loves to play. It looks like one of those. Don't ask me which one, but it just reminds me of one. And there you go. It's going to get this helicopter. And then they blow everything up. I don't know who's in this helicopter. Is Lee in this helicopter or something? I don't know. Or is he watching from a distance? I think he's watching. Are they dead in this helicopter? Are they going to get got? Because it cuts away as everything blows up. And Lee says, get us out of here. Detonation confirmed. I think we saw that, didn't we? So I presume everybody in that helicopter, that poor crew in that helicopter, is no more. And then we see are these all creatures and stuff swirling around? I've no idea, but we see this vortex appear. And there it is, look, all swirling around. And then it like, goes to like a singularity and then blows up, as we'll see. Like that, look. I have no idea what's going on. I don't know. Kind of reminds me of, Deep Space Nine, when they used to say, we'll detonate a photon torpedo in the mouth of the wormhole. And that kind of, collapsed it. Kind of reminds me of that. So is that what they've done? They've set off explosions in this rift opening, and it's collapsed it. I'm saying, is it an entrance to the inner world? Because that were kind of like, it wasn't just a hole in the ground where you just fell through into the middle of the earth. It was kind of an entrance to another dimension, sort of, wasn't it? There we go. And then that happens, and then they've landed. It's not great CG, I must admit. And then he looks, and he sees that there's a big smoking hole in the ground. He thinks he's collapsed the rift. Is that where they're thinking all these mutos are coming from? I don't know. But he goes, yay! There we go. Yay! He thinks they've won. And then that's the end. That's the end. Obviously it's not, because there's going to be more monsters coming, isn't there? I don't know. There we go. The end. It was fine. It was a better episode than we've had recently. But I wish we'd more monsters in this. We saw one. But it didn't do a lot. But, whatever. It was okay. Even though it was essentially a May episode. And I don't like May. I still don't. But anyway. So there we go. So what score will I give this one? I don't know. 6. Because it was quite interesting. It was a well-made episode, well-directed, and the actors did their parts well. And, it was okay. And the connection with Godzilla versus Kong and all that, so the drawing in the parts from the rest of the Monsterverse. So I'm sure there'll be more connections as the episodes go. What's this one? Episode 7, so with 3 more episodes to go. So we'll see what happens. Next episode is called, I'll tell you in a moment. Oh, we know what they're all called now from to the end. Next episode is called Birthright. I don't know what it's about. Episode 9 is called Axis Mundi. That means the world's axis, I suppose that means, doesn't it? Whatever, I don't know what that's about. Sounds ominous to me. And the last one's called Beyond Logic. So obviously something amazing is going to happen that's going to defy the laws of physics and logic, probably. But anyway. So there we go. So let's say it was a decent episode. It is getting better again. After its dip mid-season, that it got really bad in my opinion. It's picking back up again, and hopefully it's going to carry on. It's gone on a curve like that, hasn't it? And it's on its way back up. So hopefully it's going to get better again towards the end of the season. Right, so we'll leave it there. So, thanks for watching. Wherever you are, look after each other. And until next time, I'll see you there.